got him. I got him. All right, let's see. And there he goes. Nice and easy. We've been having fun in the ocean lately, so we've decided to continue with our aquatic theme. This week's Dino Spotlight, it's an oldie, the Megalodon. I know what you're thinking. Well, why the heck should we care about the Megalodon? Let's talk about that. The poor Megalodon has long been forgotten by many survivors. It was simply outclassed by so many other creatures. Plesios, Mosas, Tusos, even the Dunkleos were better in many aspects. But thanks to the recent TLC update, the Megalodon, it's back, and quite honestly, it's now one of the best underwater tames you could have. It's much faster than most give it credit for. Adding to that, its HP, stamina, and damage is pretty respectable. Yeah, a Mosa and a Tuso is going to outclass a solo Megalodon, but let's see how this has changed with the TLC. First, the Megalodon is now one of the few tame creatures that apply the Gnash debuff when attacking. This is the same debuff as a Wild Giga. Gnash decreases a target's max HP by 1% every second across 5 seconds. So that's a total of 5% HP being drained from the target. This is great against tankier targets such as alpha creatures, but that's not all this TLC's added. They now have access to a pack bonus. And this is no run-of-the-mill pack bonus. The Megalodon has the highest pack bonus of +8. At 9 total Megalodons, you have a +8 pack. This is just insanely good. Why? Well, for each +1 in the pack, your entire pack gains +5% damage and 5% damage resistance. So your entire full pack of +8, that's 40% more damage, and you're taking 40% reduced damage. Now get this. This stacks with the saddle quality and imprinting. Yeah, let that sink in for a moment while I show you that in practice. All right, let's start with a small pack. So I have a pack of +1 right now. Now normally the Megalodon I'm riding would be doing about 1700 damage per hit. We're going to try this out on an alpha creature. So it went from 1700 to 2800, and you can see my other buddy, my Megalodon pack, it's doing quite a bit of damage. We're both inflicting the Gnash as well. That went down fast. And let's compare this to the full pack, +8. Yeah, that is a substantial increase in damage. So it went from 1700 to 2800 at +1 to I was doing about 8500 damage. Some of my Megalodons were even doing 10,000 damage per hit, and all of them are applying the Gnash debuff. All right, now let's test some damage resistance. So 89 damage from the Alpha Megalodon. I have no pack right now. I'm using a primitive sap. Okay. Now we're going to do a +1 pack. So we're down to 55 from 58. So that was three damage reduction, but that's equivalent to 5%. So far so good. All right, now let's do the +8 pack.
Let's ride, mate.
$19 damage. That's substantial. Now lastly, I have an Ascendant saddle here on my Megalodon, and let's see how that reduces the damage with the whole pack. Now let's focus on just my Megalodon. The rest of them don't have the saddle equipped on them. $8 damage. So we're taking 8 damage while we're here on this saddle, 8 and 9. So you can see from these tests just how effective a pack of high tier Megalodons can be. but there are still some concerns from players. So first off, pack dinos tend to suffer from knockback. Dire wolves, compies, raptors, these all suffer from knockback due to size. But fortunately, megalodons, they're just too big. They don't have a knockback on them. Second, a lot of people are afraid megalodons, well, they're affected by the Nadaria and eels. Well, that is true, but in practice, it's not a big deal. With a large pack out, you're going to quickly take care of these bastards before things get out of hand. And third, tends to happen with pack creatures, there's wonky pathing AI. So packs, they tend to be separated easily due to terrain. Well, the megalodons, they're faster than most people think. Their turn radius, it's not bad for the size. And add the fact that most underwater features, they're just much more open than on land. So really, the megalodon, it just doesn't get separated from the pack very often. Moving on, let's go into our item spotlight. We're going to talk about the Harpoon launcher. The Harpoon launcher uses 3 types of ammo: spear bolts, trank spear bolts, and net projectiles. The Harpoon launcher, it really doesn't get the love it deserves. This is mainly because on official servers, until recently, it's been very difficult to get a high tier one. It's only available on the loot tables of things like Genesis missions and in the Genesis 2 drops. So the spear bolts is the first ammo type for this weapon. Early to mid game, this is the superior weapon underwater. It inflicts superior damage per shot and has extended range versus the crossbow. So this is going to keep you alive better when you're swimming in the oceans. The second ammo type is the trank spear bolts. So the trank spear bolts is a taming item. What's really cool about this is it applies approximately 85% more torpor per shot compared to a crossbow of the same tier. What's also great about this is that it applies half the damage per shot versus a crossbow. Now, why that's great? For underwater creatures such as your angler or your Duncleo, well, the angler, for example, has very low HP. Your chance of killing it with a crossbow is very high. The same thing with a Duncleo, because they're armored, they take reduced damage, they're getting less torpor. So in this situation, you're definitely going to be using the Harpoon. The last thing that makes that better is the longer range. So you have roughly about 1.5 times the range of the crossbow than using your Harpoon. So you can shoot further, which just makes things a little bit easier. And then finally, newly added to Genesis 2, the net projectile. This thing has just added some incredible quality of life. It is a great item. The net will completely immobilize most dinos size small to medium large for a total of 1 entire minute. So the limitations on this, the dinos need to be 500 drag weight or less. So a few things that are notable that you could shoot with this. So all flyers, including Quetzals, yeah, even a Quetzal that big, can be knocked down. Uteranus, which are pretty notorious and challenging to trap. Allosauruses, so it's easier to separate the packs now. Also different flyers such as like your crystal wyverns. So you could shoot them with the net projectile, makes it a lot easier to farm crystals from them. Even other things like dimorphodons, they're so small, they're tiny hitbox. Now that's just a lot easier to pin them down. Other creatures too, gas bags, Managarmr, Tapajara. So these dinos like to escape, flee whenever you damage them, but now you just shoot them with a net and you got them trapped. Now the net is not the greatest item for passive taming. It's pretty good, but it's not the greatest because what happens is when you shoot something with the net, it causes a tiny amount of damage. And when you damage the dinos, they either aggro or flee. But a way you can make this work for yourself, you could take advantage of the dino being trapped in the net, build a trap around the creature, and then go far away, get out of render distance, waiting for the trap to undo itself, the net to undo itself. Once you're out of render distance, the creature should no longer be aggroed. Come back. It's now in a real trap, and you can begin passive taming. Now, there are some passive tames that do not like to be trapped. For example, like the Gigantopithecus. If you try to trap that creature, it just will get really upset at some point because it's trapped around structures and it resets the tame. But for the most part, you could use this strategy for the majority of passive tames. As always, thanks for sticking around to the end, guys. So for pickup, we're on Genesis 2. You can find us at 63.7, 61.1. And you can find it on the second floor of our base here. I have the doors open, and behind me, you'll see the vaults. So this week, what we're going to be doing is you can take 2 Megalodons per person. There's a male and a female. Go ahead and take both per person. And then in addition, for the Harpoon, I will have max tier harpoons available for you guys with all the ammos. Take what you want. And finally, we've got a giveaway. All right, something a little weird for you guys. We've got a Liege Cichus. So yeah, you can actually put it in the cryopod, but maybe don't put it out close to your boats because we're not sure what's going to happen on server reset. Have fun with that. We thank you all for your positive feedback. To continue supporting us, like, comment, and subscribe. See you all in a couple weeks.